Captain Kirk and Doc Brown fight over a chia pet while Spock goes through puberty.
What's the chia pet?
The Genesis Code.
Oh, that's really good. In the opening of the film, the Enterprise is on its way back to space dock after combat deployment. They get back and find that someone is hanging out in Spock's quarters. Kirk runs down there and finds two security guards standing outside with weapons drawn. Kirk goes in there unarmed and finds McCoy has lost his mind, saying, "Take me home, climb the steps of Mount Seleia." And Kirk says, "Mount Seleia is on Vulcan. We're home on Earth." And then Bones says, "Remember," and passes out. Kirk then yells, "Uhura, get the medics down here." So my question to you is just how useless are those security guards?
I think they fall into the red shirt schooling of bodies to have on ship.
Yeah. I had a similar job once in my civilian life where I was an unarmed security guard in air quotes because the call center needed for insurance purposes needed to have a security element on site, which basically meant if somebody was soliciting and trying to sell us stuff, I was the guy who told people to go away. When I was a single soldier in the barracks, I would fall asleep to the audio commentary of this and listen to Leonard Nimoy talk about it, and the audio commentary of Mallrats by Kevin Smith. But
I would imagine Leonard Nimoy's voice is very calming.
oh yeah, it's ASMR, man. It's great.
Good for him.
Yeah. Um, so my second question. As we pick up with David Marcus and Savick, they're on the science vessel USS Grissom with Captain Esteban in command. When they get to the Genesis planet, Esteban says, "Dr. Marcus, it's your planet." And then David Marcus turns to Savick and says, "This is where the fun begins." My question, in Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, Anakin Skywalker says to Obi-Wan Kenobi in the opening fight scene, "This is where the fun begins." Was George Lucas paying homage to this film using the reference of David Marcus and his self-induced downfall as foreshadowing? Tell me if I'm wrong.
I know based off of social media that George Lucas and Gene Roddenberry were friends.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of things on the second watch of this movie that I didn't notice before because as like a Trekkie, so immersed in Trekkiness to the I'm like a Southern Baptist who rolls around on the floor at church, right? I'm that level of Trekkie. And as I'm watching this movie, I noticed, oh, they just kind of like reused a lot of the Wrath of Khan for this.
Well, I mean, this movie looks like it was, I mean, to go with an easy joke. I mean, this is the Spaceballs Star Trek 2, the quest for more money. I mean, the thing is, like, Spock's death at the end of Wrath of Khan is so emotional. And they
Yeah.
were like, yeah, that's great. But what if we undid that one choice for an entire movie
I bet we get
and
90 minutes out of this.
oh, I wish for 90 minutes. This movie was 2 hours. I allotted myself like it's like, all right, you know what, these Star Trek movies, they're pretty short. And then like I put play, I'm like, oh crap, this is my next afternoon.
This is my life now. This is my hell.
And it's not nearly as good as two.
Oh no.
Okay, like I'm glad you brought up Savik and David. And by the way, the fact that I know both of their names is an indication we spend too much time together.
Oh, just wait.
Okay, like first thought, one, that wasn't Kirstie Alley as Savik. That was
No.
worse actress.
It's Robin Curtis. Yeah, that's her name.
I'm sure she's a lovely person, but I was just sort of like, it was like, all right, like I'm not saying like Savik is like a great, like dramatic role, but it
Yeah.
was sort of like, Kirstie Alley, she's got like star quality.
Yeah.
Like you watch the movie, you're like, okay, she's eventually going to be the female lead on a popular sitcom,
Yeah.
and then have a Bruce Willis as a baby.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
this woman,
like
like,
Robin Curtis is there's I think there's kind of like two types of actors, right? Because like there's two different types of actors that are needed for things. I love a TV show called The Rookie. It has Nathan Fillion. He's a cop in Los Angeles. There's actors on that show like Nathan Fillion who are charismatic. They can carry a scene. And there's some actors who are like, oh, you can say the words to the people in the spot when it's your turn. And
The
sometimes
the
you,
journeyman.
yeah, you just need someone to do that. And yeah, you know.
Oh, also my thought, I don't know what actor plays David, but I can tell he's Kirk's son because he is also a terrible actor. He
I
inherited his dad's acting genes.
yeah. I
I promise you, the actor who plays David was on like General Hospital or something.
yeah.
He's got soap opera vibes.
Because like sometimes people just need to, you just need someone to say the word. Listen, I've produced audiobooks before. I've had some
I've
friends.
been on your audiobooks.
You've been on my
I
audiobooks.
was a Brooklyn toaster.
You were a Brooklyn toaster. And sometimes I'm like, hey, just say this word. And I'll be like, look, the word is clear and the audio is good and they can hear
I
it. You know? And
mean,
like as an actor myself, actor in big quotes, I don't have what you call a lot of range. If you need someone who's kind of melancholic, depressing, middle-aged combat veteran, I'm your get. I'm your guy, Pete.
you're
Like,
better than Bradley Cooper at doing that.
interesting.
You've done the homework
Tell me more about how I'm better than Bradley Cooper.
in every conceivable way because you were not in the movie Maestro.
What is Maestro?
Maestro is pure Oscar bation.
Oh, Oscar Patient. That's funny. I've never heard that before.
Um, I mean, I'll say this for the actors in the cast, other than like, the central leads. I mean, everyone was very photogenic, so good
Just
for them.
symmetrical in the face. No,
Absolutely great heads of hair.
yeah,
Oh, also, let's talk about the hair in this movie because I
hit
have
me.
thoughts.
Hit me.
Okay, so this movie takes place in the way in the future,
Yeah.
and I love that in all of these Star Trek movies we've covered, everyone has 80s hair.
Hmm.
Which, I mean, here's a possible artistic solution to that. The 80s were like the greatest decade ever for pop culture.
Hmm.
So in the future, everyone just looks like it's the 1980s.
Kind of a Ready Player One sort of deal.
Absolutely. Also, speaking of technology, the hardest I laughed at this entire movie, and by the way, there were some intentional laughs.
Oh yeah.
I love when because you talk about the beginning where they're like, "Why is McCoy acting so weird?"
Yeah.
And they're like, "Show us the footage from the ship footage from when he encountered Spock last. It's just Star Trek 2.
Yeah.
It's on VHS. They're just
Yeah.
watching Star Trek 2. And I'm like, wow, it sure was nice of the CCTV to edit itself
Yeah. You're
as though
watching
it were a
Shatner
narrative
watch a
story.
bad cop. You're watching Shatner watch a bad copy of the last movie.
It made me laugh so hard that in the future they have VHS tapes.
Yeah. I so love this franchise, but also I love kind of making fun of it because there's so much to make fun of. And like you're saying, uh after the Enterprise returns from space dock and its crew on leave, they're in Kirk's apartment, except for Scotty. The door rings and Kirk says, "Ah, Mr. Scott," but it's actually Spock's dad, Sarek. And Sarek says, "Hey, do you have Spock's brain?" And Kirk's like, "No." My question here is like, where was Scotty? And my thinking is that he's a secret DJ at an underground fight club on the weekends. What are your thoughts?
I think Scotty has his own life. I like the DJ angle.
No.
Um, I mean, he's a little older, so I've got a feeling he's like really into like World War II history,
Yeah.
which is fun because then he would eventually read about how the actor who played him was at D-Day.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I might have told you this. I'm not sure. James Doohan missing several fingers because they got shot off on Omaha Beach. Like Canadian Special Forces, badass dude. Like
You're telling me he's not actually Scottish? His accent
no.
is flawless.
No.
All right, you know what? Actually, all right, my favorite thing about the character Scotty,
Yeah.
is courtesy of Futurama.
Hit me.
Because the thing is, before this project, most Star Trek I'd ever experienced was that episode of Futurama where they brought the original cast back,
Yeah.
except for some reason no James Doohan. I'm not sure if he was alive when they recorded that.
No, he
Um,
passed away in the early 2000s.
but I remember in that episode they couldn't get Scotty, so they had Welshie, which as someone who lived in Wales is my favorite thing that has ever happened.
That is fun.
But the thing is, until that moment, I had no idea that he was named Scotty because he was Scottish.
Yeah. Well, no, he's Scotty because his name is Montgomery Scott in the TV show.
And he just happens to be Scottish.
He just happens to be. Listen, it was the 60s. Like Star Trek, sometimes they mean well, but they don't always stick the landing. But anyway,
Speaking of her, one quick note. This is both praise and condemnation for this movie.
yeah,
That scene where Uhura puts that lieutenant in his place was genuinely my favorite scene in the movie.
absolutely.
And then they don't use Nichelle Nichols like at all throughout the rest of the movie. I
Yeah,
think it's like I've heard the criticisms that O'Hara is just sort of like, she's just stock character, says her lines, she does her thing, occasionally does a fan dance.
yeah.
But the thing is like she's very funny and she's so good in that scene. I'm like, use her more. And then she's like, I'll stay behind. I'm like, why?
So I have an answer. And this comes from me listening to the audio commentary for the Search for Spock way too many times. Like I didn't really start dating to like my mid 20s. Um, so in something I learned from Leonard Nimoy, I never met the guy, but I learned a lot from him as a writer, is that if your characters don't serve a purpose, cut them. If the story you're telling, the character doesn't serve a purpose, they don't you have to justify your character's existence for the story to be good because otherwise it's filler. And as a writer, you have this duty of care for your audience's attention. You're a steward of their time. And if you waste their time with like filler or background stuff or whatever, right? Like then don't have them. Now that was kind of thinking with Uhura. She gets this big, great scene, and then you don't see her again until the end. And that was why, because again, going back to Trek culture, which is like my favorite YouTube channel, uh, I learned this where there was this whole subplot where Uhura had this whole like escape thing where she was gonna like escape from Federation security and meet up with Spock's dad and then fly off to Vulcan, right? And Leonard Nimoy said, "Well, that's kind of superfluous." And as an editor, I get it because the driving story is the search for Spock, not Uhura getting off of Earth.
Does O'Hara ever get a good subplot at least?
There is a fan film.
Okay, enough said. Enough
And,
said.
and
We
we
can move
will
on.
we will cover that fan film one day because it's actually not terrible.
Is
Like,
Nichelle Nichols in it? Because she's
yes,
very good.
yes, she is in it. Uhura gets subplots in the J.J. Abrams reboot movies.
Yeah, the cast is always Saldana. They better use her.
Yeah. And um anyway, so brings me to my next question. If Scotty is the DJ for the Underground Fight Club, then is Uhura one of the performing singers? And is that where they started dating?
Oh, that would make sense.
Yeah.
Because I mean, these characters, we're both in the military. You gotta have a life outside of it. So
Yeah.
um, I also know Nichelle Nichols' background is she was like a Broadway like singer dancer.
Yeah.
So yeah, I could see it.
Speaking of Nichelle Nichols, something I learned today for watching the a review of Star Trek V: The Final Frontier. The,
Is it better than ours?
well, I mean, yeah, but that channel has like 500,000 subscribers. They got money for stuff. Um, Talking about how Nichelle Nichols in the fan dance in The Final Frontier originally sang it and recorded it, but then she got dubbed over and no one told her until the premiere. And I'm like, Ooh, Shatner, there's a reason people don't like, come on, man. Like, you got to tell people. You got to give them some warning. Like, I
I've
love
heard
William Shatner as the artist and all the things he produces, but like, you gotta, you know, you gotta
there's
tell
a
people.
reason why he's got a bad reputation and most of the cast doesn't like him.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, they're mostly dead, but, uh,
Oh,
so next question. During the heist of the Enterprise, how funny would it have been if the doors like didn't open in time and they all just like died? Like, or gets like arrested.
there's a lot of awkward what ifs in this scenario, considering this is like the most rebellious I've seen, the Enterprise crew. Okay, we need to talk about the villain because we have not yet said the words Christopher Lloyd in this review.
I love it.
Okay. Um, Here's one of the biggest criticisms I have against the movie. I love Christopher Lloyd. He's a great actor. Holy crap, he cannot be intimidating.
He's big.
Well, the thing is, all right, like Ricardo Montalban as Khan
Yeah.
is genuinely intimidating. He's a great villain, which is already saying something because I try not to bring the baggage that actors like have from previous roles. Like I
Mm,
kind of had that with Kirstie Alley in the last one,
mm,
because I was just like like Rebecca from Cheers,
mm.
and like Ricardo Montalban. I wasn't like, oh, that's the guy from Fantasy Island. I'm like, that's Khan. But Christopher Lloyd is such again, we go back to the Future. He's such an iconic character in that, and this was made around the same time. So every
Yeah.
time he raises his voice, I'm just kind of like, I can't hear you as anything else.
My favorite part goes, emergency thrusters! Or no, emergency power to the
And
thrusters!
he's not scary. He's like, even with the makeup on, like I don't find him scary at all.
I like him when he's more subdued. Like when he's because in this film, in many ways, while it's reused, if you're being generous, it's a reflection on the Wrath of Khan, right? It's a mirror to it. Where in the first in the Wrath of Khan, you had this super genius guy versus Kirk, who is nothing but experience. Like after a while, if you manage to not die long enough, you kind of know a thing or two. And that's Kirk. He's just managed to survive and just throw red shirts at its problems so they go away. And then with this movie, the guy's name is Commander Krug, played by Christopher Lloyd. He's an experienced officer. Kirk's an experienced officer. So Kirk doesn't have that like advantage over he did over Khan, where like he knows all this shit to where like toward the end of it, where you got the big fight scene between both of the ships, and then uh, 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 they shoot, and then Kirk's like, "We should have a truce," and how dare you shoot at us? And Krug says, "We must have hurt him worse than I thought." And then he's seeing very fast. He goes, "Oh, we should be dead right now, but we're not. So this guy's fucked." And
Also, worst commanding officer ever. I love that he's like, I'll send all of my crew except for one person to the Enterprise. That'll show. I'm like, dude, you need more than just one. Although eventually, when we get to it, that is my favorite line of the movie. But next question.
to go more into kind of Krug, where like when they're on the planet, and I love how cheesy this is. They're on the planet, and Krug is like, or Kirk says, "Beam everybody up to the planet, and we'll talk." And he beams everyone up, but Kirk and Spock. And he says, "Bring up Spock too." And Krug says, "No." And Kirk says, "Why?" He goes, "Because you want me to." And I'm like, that's the single smartest line I've heard this whole film. Of course I wouldn't do it. It's a thing my enemy wants.
All right, because I know we're eventually working our way to the climax, which,
Yeah,
oh, I have so many thoughts on. I do want to talk about one of my favorite moments. So we talk about Star Trek characters finally getting some use.
hit me.
Uh, of the three movies we've watched, this is the most Sulu has gotten to do, which is to
Yeah.
say George Takei has 6 lines.
But he has a fight scene.
Yes, thank you. Okay, that is one of my favorite parts of the entire movie is when George Takei is kicking that guy's ass and goes, "Don't call me tiny." I'm like, George Takei, why did it take us so long for us to realize how awesome your voice was?
Well, and because so if you want some really fun George Takei, he did the cutscenes for Red Alert Command and Conquer 3, where he plays the Emperor of Japan, but also like he has a Megazord mech suit. It's it's incredible. But
And you know
in the
what? Of all the movies we've seen, again of three, George Takei seems just the most relaxed and happy making this.
yeah, and I love how Leonard Nimoy made sure to use all of the supporting cast to do something. Right. Everyone got a thing to do. They had a moment. They had a reason for existence. Even if it was as brief as Uhura's, you know, Scotty disabled the Excelsior so they can get out. Um, Chekhov was there. Chekhov got a thing in the last one. Uhura held that lieutenant at gunpoint and threw his ass in the brig. No, Chekhov helped destroy the Enterprise.
And Bones was possessed.
Bones was possessed. And yeah, no, Chekhov was one of the people that put in the destruct codes for the Enterprise. And they just watched it blow up. Now, here's my question. Do you why do they have a self-destruct? Like it logically in the military, can you justify a self-destruct button?
I feel like there's going to be a lot of classified documents on the Enterprise, so maybe it's like the kamikaze function.
Yeah, maybe.
Um, I mean, I'll say this. But one of my favorite details is like when they are like beaming in the Klingons.
Yes.
I saw a no smoking sign in the background, which made me think of "Thank You for Smoking," where they're like talking about a sci-fi movie where people are smoking, and they're like, "Well, won't they all burst into flames if they're in an all oxygen environment?" And they're like, "Oh, we'll put it. We put the fixer thing in there."
We put
So
the
I
mix.
like that detail of we're in an all oxygen environment, no smoking.
Yeah. So I love the fight those two have. You got two middle-aged guys. Well, no, you have two middle-aged guys and their stuntmen. And here's how I could tell.
Yeah, you could very clearly tell. Well, suddenly Kirk got very physically fit, and then
Yes.
they cut away to Shatner looking like redeemed. I did it.
Basically. Because, like, from behind, I'm like, oh, that's a bodybuilder who's 29, right? In the peak physical prime. Go to the forward, I'm like, oh, that's William Shatner at 50, right? Like, not, he's an okay 50, right? He's a 1980s 50 where he's in shape, but he's all boozy with the cigars and stuff. Yeah, in my favorite line is, and I sometimes will walk around and say this. He goes, "I have had enough of you."
You said it wrong because he delivers a line, one word for each kick.
Talk to me.
I have had enough of you. And then the absolute worst blue screen effect of Christopher Lloyd falling into lava happens. And
No.
I said, this is the best scene of any Star Trek movie I've ever seen. All right, like, okay, we talk about the Genesis code. So in the last scene of the last movie,
Yeah.
we see that Spock's uh, casket lands on the most like beautiful, exotic,
Yeah.
like rainforest, and then we see the planet that he actually went to, and it looks like a high school play set. And every once in a while, like something pops out of the ground, which of course helps with the fight scene.
Yeah. 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 And to talk about a high school play set in the beginning, when they're putting the big, we'll call it cassette from of the Genesis data into there. It's just a big plastic block that goes into a bigger plastic sleeve. Like it just kind of plops in there and falls
Oh,
in.
1980s.
I I I I love what this movie. I love what they did with clearly such a low budget. And they're like, "Hey guys, listen, this is what worked the last time. We're just gonna do it again." And I think for just kind of repeating the hits, I think it did pretty good. Like I didn't notice just how much of Khan was recycled until I watched this movie this time as it was like a critical eye.
Well, since we're like at the climax of the movie, I'll give you away my favorite line, which is when they beam up to the Klingon ship and
Mhm.
they find the one surviving Klingon officer, and he's like, "I do not deserve to live," and Kirk just goes, "Yeah, I'll kill you later." Like we've been shitting on Shatner's acting a lot,
Mhm.
for not for nothing. Um, oh man, we forgot to mention. Klingon bastards killed my son.
All right.
Klingon bastards.
So in that
Shatner's fine until he gets emotional, and then it's just like, okay, that's the Shatner that everyone knows and loves.
and that, much like with Nicholas Meyer, they did it again and again and again because Leonard Nimoy has known Shatner for like 25 years at this point. And listen, if I break him,
I want to see the unbroken takes of that.
I, there's it. The older Shatner gets, the kind of less hammy he is, and he's just kind of he mellows with age a little bit. Also gets kind of angry on Twitter quite a bit. But at this point, he's 93, right? Like, he's a 93-year-old with a following on Twitter. He's gonna say some shit. Like, so what are your
Oh,
thoughts on the end when they've the Genesis planet is destroyed and Kirk's like, "Bye, David." And then I'll spoil the next movie a little bit. They go back in time to save the whales. And there's a part of me that's like, wait a minute. If you go back in time to save the whales, why don't you save your kid? Like,
Kirk is a bad dad.
Kirk is a shitty dad, dude. Like,
Yeah, look, like he was really affected. Oh God, I think there was like we're talking about like scenes that worked.
mhm.
So when Kirk meets up with the ambassador to the Vulcan planet, and he's like, it's
Spock's
like
dad.
you lost. So it's like you lost your ship, you lost your son, and then Kirk just goes, "If I hadn't saved Spock, I would have lost my soul." I'm like, again, maybe Shatner was just exhausted, but like his
Yeah.
delivery of that was so good.
Yeah. And and I mean, granted, he's only really known his kid for like a week and a half, but still, like you've traveled a time before. You know how to do this. Um, and I love the sort of like weird, like Fu Manchu sort of like 1970s, 80s Asian aesthetic they have that would not really fly today, but it gets kind of grandfathered in.
Well, what was weird for me that I didn't know going into this was the priestess who does the whole ceremony, um, is Oscar nominee Judith Anderson.
Yeah.
And the only thing I've seen her in was, Alfred Hitchcock's Rebecca. And I'm like, okay, so this is what happened to Judith Anderson. I mean, I'm sure she got paid, a bunch of money for her one scene
Yeah.
where she just says weird, cryptic things. And this whole time, like this British dame is just sort of like, okay, fine, as long as the check clears.
I mean, listen, like Maggie Smith did all of Harry Potter. I get it. No, granted, Harry Potter, the movies, great material. Like, but yeah, listen, if you're getting paid, get paid. You know what I mean? That's what I
If
would do.
anyone wants to pay me a lot of money to do a movie, I'm on board. I will say
Yeah.
whatever Klingon nonsense you want me to.
Yeah. And I love at the end. And again, I know that this movie really reuses most of the second one. I don't care. I still love it. The end when Kirk said, or when Spock says, "Ship out of danger," and Kirk's like, "Yes, you saved the ship. You saved us all. Don't you remember?" And he goes, "Your name is Jim." And then everyone's like, "Spock's back. Yay." And when I see that, my heart melts, and I'm like, they saved Spock again. They've saved him a lot of times, but they saved him again. And you can see all the supporting cast. They're like, "Oh my God, Spock, you're back!" and everything. But the music plays over it.
Okay, I also want to throw out there how convenient it was that the planet aged Spock until he was old enough to be Leonard Nimoy.
Yeah, until he's 54.
It's just sort of like, oh, cool, we don't have to hire any new actors.
Yeah, no. Leonard Nimoy's. It's called the Search for Spock, not the Search for New Spock. Like,
We briefly got some new Spocks, but then they had to age into, actual Spock.
There are some new Spocks. Ethan Peck is playing Spock on the TV show, who is the grandson of Gregory Peck.
I'm
And
already on board.
oh, and we'll diverge here for a second. In this TV show called Strange New Worlds, Spock is a complete fuckboy. Like it is, he's engaged to this like hot Vulcan princess, right? But also he works with hot Nurse Chapel on the Enterprise. And then he's like, I don't know, who should I pick? And then he picks Nurse Chapel. They date for a bit. And then Nurse Chapel's like, oh, I'm gonna go get a promotion and a transfer somewhere else because he's a fuckboy and she knows he'll never stick around, right? And in there's actually a musical episode where Spock sings a song called I'm the X.
Oh dear. We'll see about that.
It's it's yeah, it's a lot.